Good morning, I'm Clint Walker and this is Real Estate Appraiser Secrets. And today we are going to talk about what to do when the appraiser's value comes in below your contract price. So, I don't know how it happens, but these things seem to happen in batches, because I go a long time without hearing from any agents about their appraised value coming in below contract prices, and then I'll have a week where I get 3 or 4 phone calls about it. And it's tough. I actually took for my appraiser CE, I took a class on reconsideration of values, a 7-hour class on doing reconsiderations of value on the appraiser side. So when the agent and the lender send the reconsideration request. And you might find it funny, but it is completely legitimate, and it will, and the same will apply to agents. The first hour of this class, or maybe the first chapter of this class, was dedicated to staying calm. When you get that reconsideration of value request, the instructor went through, a whole part of the class on not popping off in your reply, not being sarcastic in the comments when you make your reconsideration of value, like taking a beat and breathing and calming yourself down so that you're in the right headspace. And interestingly enough, one of the things I've been working on this year, it took me about 6 months to get it written, but I've written a 30-page info product on reconsiderations of value. And before I ever took this class, this was me writing for agents, because I want you all to know how to do this. But before I ever took this class, my first step in this process is calming down and not popping off with some sort of emotional response, some sort of angry response. And in this thing, I give all the reasons why I think that's wise. And as I say, you probably think it's common sense, but I can tell you, having been on both sides of the process, that is actually worth mentioning. It's a hard thing to do because, emotions flare up when that value comes in low, or when, as an appraiser, the parties push back on your opinion of value. So, there's the first thing you do. Find a way to calm down and approach it with a clear mind. But after that, once you've gathered yourself, and once the appraiser has gathered themselves, you need to hash out the facts. So, on the agent side, I'm going to stop talking about the appraisers right now because there's only one appraiser who watches this, and these videos are not for him. But on the agent side, the next thing you got to do is you got to read through that entire report. I know that you and the lender have already jumped straight down to the bottom of page 2 where the final opinion of value is written. But there is so much more in that report that you need to understand and hash out. You got to read the entire thing. It may be 40 pages, it may be 75 pages, but you got to comb through it, because you need to understand, you need to try to sort out what the appraiser's issue was with your contract price, what they have felt their limitations were in their own opinion of value. When agents call me for this and I do a consultation, that is exactly the first thing I do. I don't have to go through the, calming myself down thing, because I'm not really involved. I'm just trying to, give some strategy and advice. But I comb through the entire report. I pull up every single one of the appraiser's comps, because I want to see what they look like, how they compare to my subject. Here's your pro tip that seems like common sense, but I kid you not, and every single time I get a reconsideration of value, someone does this. They send me comps that I've already used in my report. If you do that, you're dead before you've even begun. Your appraiser will blow off your entire thing, your entire request, because you're just sending them comps they've already used and already explained and already analyzed and already have basically said this comp doesn't help. So sending them that again means, one, you've not read their report, and two, you're not sending them any new information. So at a minimum, you take every single comp that they've put in that report and you put it in the MLS, and you make sure you're not sending them the same thing over again, unless you are sending them that comp they've used to say, something like, this comp was sold as part of a nasty divorce and I know about that, and the appraiser would have no reason to know about that because nobody posts that on the MLS. But you might know of some reason with that property that it's coming out worse, that it's a worse property than what you've listed. Okay, that's fine. But caveat part B of that is you should have done that when they went and did their inspection. It's kind of too late now. You've lost a lot of credibility in not having done that on the front end. So, but if you need to talk about one of their comps for a reason like that, go ahead. But what you really want to do is to look at the comps they've got, understand their adjustments that they're making to them, and comparing them to your subject, and ensuring that you're not sending them something that's already in there. The other thing you need to do when you're looking at that entire report is to read their analysis, look at their market conditions, look at the adjustments that they've made and their explanation for having made those adjustments. You might start seeing, as I do sometimes when I'm helping agents try to sort out a reconsideration of value, you might see that there's a good reason that they're coming in low. A good reason could look like you didn't get the house professionally measured before you listed it, and the square footage is much smaller than you thought it was. That happens all the time. If you've ever been to my appraisal class, you've heard me say ad nauseum, the best money you can spend pre-listing is getting your house professionally measured. You're not getting it professionally measured to try to squeeze out a couple more square feet. You're getting it professionally measured so that you have the facts about what it is. Okay? It may be exactly what you expected. It might be 100 feet smaller, 500 feet smaller than you expected. But that is valuable information. That is what you're paying to know when you get that professional measurement. And then sometimes, and it happens a lot of times, you might come out 50, 100, 200 feet larger than you expected. And that's icing on the cake. Okay? That's not the reason for getting a professional measurement. The reason is because you want to know the facts, and facts are valuable. So there's my soapbox on that subject, but it really is the best thing you can do. I personally hand measure every single listing that I do, even when it's new construction, even when my builder tells me I'm wasting my time because he built the house exactly according to the specs. I hand measure every single property because there is no other way to know what you've got. It's just not, there's just not. That includes the fancy floor plans that your photographer is giving you for free. They are illustrations, they're not professional measurements. So, having said that, when you're combing through the report looking for what the appraiser's challenge was and why they came in below your contract price, you're looking for things like that. Okay, maybe, as I've seen it happen in some that I've helped with, the appraiser mismeasured. Maybe you did get a professional measurement like a pro agent, and the appraiser mismeasured. Now you've got your professional measurement in hand. You can send that to the lender, and you've got the professional measurement, the appraiser's measurements in the report. You can compare the two. You can point that out to the lender. You can ask the appraiser to correct that or go back out to the property and remeasure it. They don't have to. They might be pig-headed and refuse to, which I have encountered. But that can help you establish with your lender that maybe this report needs to be thrown out and maybe a new appraisal needs to be ordered, okay? Your lender has to demonstrate substantial errors in order to get that done, and mismeasuring the house is a big error. The appraiser who trained me said, if you can't measure a house, you can't do an appraisal. So that is a big problem if you can prove that that is the case. Convincing everybody that it's a big problem can be tough, but it's a better shot than fighting some of the other battles in the report. What else? That appraisal report is going to be chock full of information. It's going to be more information than you've ever had to read before. If you know, in situations where the value comes in right on your contract price. So comb through the whole thing. Look for the adjustments the appraiser used. Look at their comps. Look at their analysis, and then once you've got all that, you need to go and pick your own comps, preferably new comps. And you've seen some of the appraiser's reasoning, so that can give you some clues as to what you need to look for in the comps that you're selecting, in the new comps, in the never before used comps that you are going to send in. So the new comps are your best shot at affecting any change. The one time I've ever been sent good enough information to change a value in one of my own appraisals was just that. I had plenty of, when I mapped out the search area that I was going to use for to find comparable sales, I had plenty of information. I had plenty of sales to bracket the subject, and I didn't really have any good reason to keep looking. And I came in a little bit low, or a little bit below their contract price. There I go again. A little bit below their contract price. So when they did the reconsideration of value, they sent me a sale that was literally one street over from where I stopped. So one street over, locationally, that totally valid. My reasons for stopping were totally valid, and it's just a thing that happened. So I put that sale in the report. It certainly did help them out, and so I changed my opinion. And so that's kind of what you're looking for is a valid sale that was missed for whatever reason, and sitting that in. And then ultimately you're going to try to do all that. You're going to try to write all that up in a persuasive, objective way, really focusing mostly on the facts. Or if there are some material mistakes that your appraiser made, you can sort of point those out. Maybe they didn't give you a fair shake on the condition of the house. Maybe they didn't consider all the upgrades. Be realistic on your upgrades, folks. Like paint and little cosmetic stuff in the context of a house that needs a lot more work, probably not going to get a lot of value out of that. So be realistic where you can, but also advocate. You as the agent are allowed to advocate for your client. So that's it. I mean, it sounds simple, but it's not. It's not easy for me when I help people do it, but that is what you are. That's what you do on your reconsideration of value. Check with your lender too. They might be limiting you to sending in 3 new sales. They might allow 6 new sales. This will all have been established in your appraiser's engagement letter beforehand. So you'll want to know about that from your lender. And also, if you're the listing agent, I'll just point this out because this comes up. The process is to go through the lender to the appraiser. So you will need to send this stuff. You'll need to work with the buyer's agent to communicate with the lender to get this stuff to them. But I hope that's helpful. If we can be of service to you with professional measurements to potentially avoid this problem, pre-listing appraisals to potentially avoid this problem, or consultations on the back end if you're encountering this problem, you can find us at truepointappraisals.com. Be happy to do that. As always, I appreciate so much that you watched. I'd love it if you liked and subscribed, and we will catch you next week.